Hey, Dill, get your mic turned on. Can't hear you.
It was Sunday afternoon, and we had one more man who was going to show up. And he was coming over to meet a 14-year-old boy. And I believe we had a description of his car. So we see it pull up, and it's an SUV.
He's in the driveway, Dill, but I can't hear you coming back at me. Dill, he's backing out now. He's backing out of the driveway. He's backing out of the driveway. Yeah, looks like he's going to park on the street. Can you hear me, Dill?
He gets out and goes to the rear passenger side. We think maybe he's going to get beer, pizza, stuff that we see these guys bring all the time. Instead, he grabs the hand of his 5-year-old son and leads him out of the car and up the driveway. And I hear Frag say,
"Oh, no." He brought his son with him. He's got his child with him.
Apparently, the mother of the child, his wife, was working that day. He was in charge of the child and figured he'd just bring him along. And there was a collective gasp that you could hear in the house.
He's going up to the front door and he has his child with him.
Go around to the back. This door doesn't open.
He's one of these guys who had a very short online chat, but then on the phone is graphic about what he wants to do. And he has this conversation with Dell, who's posing as the 14-year-old boy.
Making the turn, coming in the back door, coming through, walking into the living room, holler out.
And so I'm thinking, all right, how do I handle this? And so he comes in, he's got the kid by the hand, and I walk out, and he's startled. I got to tell you something, and I'm going to tell you just straight up right now.
Yeah.
I'm Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC.
Okay.
We're doing a story on adults eating children, and since you have your child here, I'm not going to pursue this.
Okay.
But I think you know what you were doing here, don't you?
No, I was just coming to take some lunch.
Take a boy out to lunch you met on the internet.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
My point is, because your child is here, I think it'd be best if you just went ahead and left.
Yeah, I agree. I never entered this again.
And of course, Frag is talking to the police saying, you know, this has got to be a different sort of arrest.
Rob, we're going to send this guy out. We're not going to interview him because he got his kid.
Sir, right there. You come here. You come here. Let go of the child.
As gently as the female officer scooped him up, he still had to see his father get arrested.
Please give me my son, please. Can we please have my son, please?
Did somebody get the car seat out of his vehicle?
You got to remember that these guys who work with me on these investigations have done other investigations with me in some of the darkest parts of the world and exposed some of the most tragic things you can see happen to kids and people. And they were just blown away. I mean, some of these guys were in tears.
You gotta put your seatbelt on, all right, buddy?
Put your seatbelt on, buddy. You gotta go for a 2-minute ride, okay?
Based upon his interview with police, the chat log, and everything else, it doesn't seem like he was going to involve the child in any sex act. It seemed like he was going to set the kid up in a room with a DVD and go do whatever he was going to do with this, 14-year-old in another location of the house. During his interview with police, he suggested that it was the lack of intimacy in his marriage that drove him to do this. There was a state investigation to see if the boy in any way had been abused. Pending that, relatives have told us that at first the boy was living with the mother, then the boy went to go live with other relatives because the mother took the father back in. And that was the situation.
PhotoFix Clifford Wallach. PhotoFix was a fast mover. At 2:24 in the afternoon, he started chatting online with a decoy posing as a 14-year-old boy. At 3:57, he was parking in front of our home. Wallach actually blames his wife, the woman who's working at a high-end retail store an hour away. He blames his wife because she, he says, in the interrogation, won't have oral sex with him. So he's got to drive across town and try to hook up with a 14-year-old boy or someone he thinks is a 14-year-old boy. It is absolutely one of the most outrageous things in a long list of outrageous events I have witnessed covering this story. It is absolutely among the most, if not the most outrageous thing I've ever seen in 17 years of investigating predators. This child would have to live outside of the home, away from his mother, because she wanted to stay with him after what he did. And ultimately, she went on to have another child with Clifford Wallach. And still, the son had to live at the residence of relatives. Wallach terminated his parental rights for his son. Wallach served his 5 years in the Florida state prison system and then served another 10 years probation. He's not on probation anymore, but he remains on the sex offender registry list for the rest of his life. He is still married to the wife he had at the time of the offense,